Hi, it's Ileana at Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, and I have my friend Chloe with me today. Chloe does energy healing. She's a psychic, she's an intuitive, and she is going to discuss her beautiful abilities. And please, Chloe, tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Ileana. Thanks for having me once again. So I'm Chloe with Airlea Healing, and I'm a healer, spiritual teacher, and artist. And Ileana and I are doing a series about the soul, about the higher self, and lots of awesome metaphysical concepts. And this is part 2. And in this video, we're going to be continuing on with our discussion. In the last video, if you haven't yet watched it, we highly recommend that you watch that first. We talked about how to connect with your own higher self, the difference between the higher self and the lower self, or the ego. And what else did we talk about, Ileana?
We talked about the soul. We talked about the different aspects of the soul and the higher selves, that there could be one higher self or several, how they can appear to us or to other people, and all the connections, energetic connections that come with that. So, and today we're gonna go over how to connect with your higher self, higher selves of others, the souls of others. We're gonna talk about past lives and a little bit about the afterlife because that ties in to this topic of past lives. It's interconnected.
And some people had some questions based on our first video. So you definitely want to watch that first video first, because it's important to understand how to connect with your higher self before you connect with the higher self of others, so that you totally understand what it is. I'll do a brief review, but you'll want to have a good understanding of how to do that before trying to communicate with other people's higher selves. So as Ileana was saying, we're going to talk about how to communicate with the higher selves of others and the souls of others. We'll start with higher selves. So I first want to just go over what are some of the reasons why we might actually want to communicate with other people's higher selves. So I'll just start with my reasons for why I've felt the desire to do this in my life. So one of the strongest moments for me in wanting to communicate with someone else's higher self was when I was in separation with someone. I was in separation from my twin flame at the time, a few years ago, and it was very painful. Some of you may be experiencing separation from a twin flame or a loved one, or even a family member, an estranged family member, and you're not in contact with them and you desperately want to connect with them. But of course, you don't want to be stalking them. You don't want to be blowing up their phone, because that's not appropriate. So being able to communicate with someone's higher self, you're going on the higher plane, and you're able to actually send them healing and send you healing, and also communicate a lot of things that you might be feeling very unresolved about. So that really helped me. And I used various different guided visualizations and guided meditations. We're going to include some below. But I'm also going to do a little guided meditation today to help you to connect with someone if you are trying to connect with someone's higher self. So when you're connecting with someone's higher self, once again, the higher self is, I would say, the true self. Would you say that, Ileana? It's sort of like the higher aspects of the self. And then the other aspect is the lower self, or the ego. So when you're communicating with your own higher self or the higher self of others, they're not going to be emotional. They're not going to be upset with you or angry with you. There won't be any emotion involved. There won't be major resistance or frustration or anything like that. It's basically just the highest aspect of themselves. So they're going to be very calm, very peaceful, and pretty rational, and also more connected, I would say, to their higher aspects, their divine aspects, their heart aspects, and not so much caught up in all of the drama that might be going on in the relationship. So it also can be really nice and really healing to be able to connect with somebody in that way, because it won't be fighty, right? And if you do attempt to connect with someone's higher self and they start fighting with you, then you know that that's not their higher self. Their lower self is coming in, or you're bringing in your lower self, which is bringing in their lower self. Okay. Now, this may take some practice for those of you who haven't done any meditation or haven't done any astral travel or working on the higher realms where you're communicating to other beings or other aspects of the soul, but it absolutely can be done with a bit of practice. What are some of the reasons you think, Ileana, or maybe some of the experiences that you've had in regards to wanting to communicate with the higher selves of others? I'm really curious.
So I had a soulmate connection, and you know who this is because we've often talked about him. I was really attracted to him at work, actually, when I worked in libraries. And I couldn't understand why, but there was a connection, and it was a past life connection. In Atlantis, we were both geneticists. And I learned that later on when I was no longer with him. You see, it took me a lot of time to do the separation work, to not be connected to him anymore on that soul emotional level, to let him go because he was in love with somebody else at the time. And he wasn't willing to be honest with me about that, or himself. So I started to connect with his higher self, and I asked permission before I even connected. The other person's higher self needs to give permission to connect. If they don't give permission, you shouldn't connect because it's against free will, the laws of the universe. So there's that aspect to it. But his higher self said yes, because his higher self wanted to resolve the past life stuff that we hadn't karmically worked through. Because I didn't stand by him. I let the geneticists, the evil geneticists in Atlantis, do experiments on him, and I didn't save him. So he was sort of sacrificed to continue on for the experiments, and he suffered. And so basically I understood that relationship, it didn't work out because I was too ego-driven with my work as a geneticist in Atlantis. I had ego, and some of them did. He didn't have ego. He wanted all the beings that were in Atlantis to know what was happening. They were creating chimeras and other unlawful things genetically, which is against the laws of the universe even then. Unfortunately, that brought karma to this lifetime. So the reason when we were no longer seeing each other, I connected to him to work through that karma, to apologize to him, and to say that I loved him and that I wished him well with his next partner in this lifetime, that I hope he met somebody special. I actually knew he wouldn't actually be with the person that he was involved with, who he thought he loved. So I told him, just look deep in your heart. I told that to his higher self. And I said, remember the Atlantis past life. Remember, the physical person. You remember. I told the higher self to activate that in him, in the physical him that was my ex-soul partner, to activate that remembrance and to help him find love physically and emotionally, to be whole, because he had his own issues committing to women because of his past life stuff, and Atlantis was a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. So his higher self facilitated that communication and helped him to free his karmic issues, to let that go. So that's why I was connecting to his higher self. And my ex actually tried to connect to my soul several times years later. That's not the higher self to higher self, that's soul to soul. And I told him not to connect to me on a soul level because he has a wife, he has a child, he's, and I saw his wife and child through him. And his little girl connected to me to speak to me, to ask why her daddy wasn't always emotionally available to her. and to her mom. And I said, sweetie, it's because of past life stuff. And you can help your dad to resolve that. So his little girl, and this was like 7, 8 years later. So I know he's had a little girl and he has a wife. So, his life is good, but he's still emotionally repressed. And that was a soul to soul. His little girl connected to my soul one-on-one. So I psychically spoke to her and I explained to her about her dad. And I said, it's okay. Just try to love him and try to facilitate a more emotional connection of love with him, because he was learning what love was, I guess, still. So that's the example of the higher self to higher self and the soul to soul. And it's psychic.
And did that help you to feel more resolve when you connected your higher self to his higher self? Did that help you to forgive and let go and move forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, his higher self showed me aspects of that Atlantean lifetime and why that stuff happened, because I went into the Akashic records, into mine and his, and I couldn't see much there because I was meant to connect to his higher self to get that information. Because his higher self very much loves me and wants me to be happy as well in my human reality. And so his higher self showed me what I needed to know about him, which I didn't know on the physical level. And I wasn't ready at the time, but later I was, once I wasn't with him. It took me 2-3 years to get over him, honestly. And this is when I was first starting to learn magic and psychic development. I wasn't to the point where I am now, where I can more easily let go of emotional things that are not working for me anymore. Now I understand what past lives are, what higher selves are, what twin flames, soulmates, life partners are. I understand that better now. I was attracted to him because he was my soulmate in Atlantis. He wasn't my twin flame. I actually have twin flames that are not on this planet. They're off world that I'm like deeply, deeply connected to on a super soul, super heart level. That's why I know my soul can intertwine with their souls. That's why I know they're my twin flames, and I have several twin flames and several soulmates. Because when the souls go like this, that's the twin flame, the spark, emotionally, physically, intellectually, everything sparks. You come together brilliantly. That's what it feels like to be with a twin flame.
Right. And I think a lot of people struggle because they feel all of these signs. There's all of these points of connection, emotional, physical chemistry is off the charts, intellectual connection is there. There's a feeling of familiarity, of knowing each other from past lives. So there's a deep soul connection quite often. But for some reason, sometimes we don't end up, connecting with the person in the 3D physical world in the way that our ego wants, in the way that we desire. And I think part of that is because we're brainwashed at a young age by Disney and by the media that a romance story needs to last forever and it needs to be perfect without any problems and things like that. But also partly because there may be karma, there may be issues that need to be worked out, which aren't always ideal or don't always look peachy on the outside, but they're always for our soul's evolution. They're always for our higher self's benefit, because our higher self is here letting us know that when we incarnated into this lifetime, there was a specific agenda, there were specific things that we needed to learn. And part of that is through our relationships. So through our closest loved ones, the romantic exchanges that we have, and whether they're very short or long, or whether they never really even come together in the way that we wish. It does not negate the connection that we feel. And so by exploring and connecting with others in the higher realms, connecting with the higher selves, it allows us to express more fully what we feel, but also to explore different perspectives of why is this relationship coming to be in this way? Why is it not working out in this other way? Or how can we heal? So for me, the most important benefit of connecting with other people's higher selves or with other souls with past lives has been a healing journey for me. And I think that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind as human beings, is that part of our main purpose here is to expand, to grow, and to heal a lot of the things that we came into this life with. So we may have come into this lifetime with certain wounds from past lives, like disillusionment or abandonment or feelings of rejection or feelings of not feeling loved or good enough. A lot of these things are very common in the thought form programming. We talked quite a lot about thought forms in the last video too. You may want to check that out if you have not already done so. But we tune into these collective thought forms, and then we create different types of situations. We manifest certain types of people and certain types of relationships to work through all of the healing that we need to do. And this is not just with romantic connections that we might want to connect with people's higher selves. It can also be estranged family members. I've worked with quite a few clients who have family members that won't contact them. And so how do you reach them? Well, through sending distance energy healing to them, through sending good energy, good visualization about them, visualizing yourself with them, your higher selves communicating together, can actually help heal the relationship. But most importantly, it can help resolve and heal what's going on within, because we can't control what another person does, right? And so when we connect with another person's higher self, like you say, it has to be with their permission. And I'm glad that you pointed that out, because it's very important. When I go into a higher self journey or a past life journey with myself or with a client, I always ask permission of that other individual, because they're not present, right? So, and sometimes they do say no. Most of the time they're open, but we have to also understand that some human beings at this stage of life are not very open to their higher self yet. I was with a partner for a while, and he was not really very connected to his higher self. So I sometimes had to connect to his subconscious and his lower self to better understand him. But some people will not really connect with their higher self very much in this lifetime. So we also have to accept the fact that they may push us out. They may not be ready for that type of connection at this point. And I've also learned to accept that about others too, because like you say, it's free will, and it's not that they're bad or anything like that, or that they're beneath us or something. They're just on a different timeline. So understanding that different souls are on a different timeline of evolution. And so, you know, one thing that Sadhguru said, one of the spiritual teachers that I follow, is that if a loved one is behaving how we want them to behave, even 50% of the time, that's really good. Because look, we're not here to dictate to another person, whether it's our husband or wife or child, just because they're a big part of our lives and we feel so connected to them. We don't get to say how they live, and they aren't here to please us. They aren't here to cater to us, right? So connecting with the higher self can also help us to understand where the person's at in their journey. They may be at a different stage than us, and they may need to do certain things, even self-destructive things, even things that we look at and go, wow, you know, they have an addiction, or they have a problem, or they have a, you know, different types of mental issues or what have you, but we don't get to judge them. This is an opportunity for us to understand others, for us to connect to the higher aspects of others, so that we can let them live their lives and let go and allow them to be who they are, who their unfolding self is becoming to be, right? And they might not understand certain things that we're saying in this lifetime. It might not be until the next lifetime or the lifetime after that. And we have to be able to accept that. But through these journeys, it's really helped me to find more acceptance for others and find more understanding, because I think that's what that's one of the key things that we're also really looking for as human beings. And this is why I think we're curious about the soul and the spirit, because we desire that understanding and that connection within ourselves and with others. Don't you think?
Yeah, and from what I've learned about soul connection and spirituality, it's when we're looking for a life partner, a twin flame, a soulmate, right? That we have some commonalities with them, that we connect on a spiritual level, that we're at some level similar to each other. And you and I have both wanted to connect with partners who are emotionally available to us and who would understand and respect our emotional needs as well, and not block us or close us off. And we've tried to find life partners that we don't need to change, that they're okay the way they are, that they don't have super many addictions. Because you and I have had connections to people who've had addictions, anger management, drinking, whatever, right? Ego. So when we look for our partners, we try to make sure that they're at the evolutional level that we're at. Because again, that's important in relationships, on the higher self level, on the soul level, the spiritual level. Like, for example, I can't be with somebody who's vibrationally much lower than I am in my spiritual journey, because that's not high vibration to me, just as an example. So I need a soul partner or soulmate who is open-minded to the things I'm connected to, at least to understand those levels and respect me for that.
Having said that, I would say pretty much, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but you know, speaking from my perspective and from all of my clients, pretty much, like, most people need to experience past life relationship, what they call wound mates, where, you know, you connect with somebody, but it really is about healing each other's damage or bringing up to the surface traumas and things like that. So it's important to also understand that connecting with someone that may be at a lower vibrational level is not always a bad thing, because again, it's really about the bigger picture, which is the soul's journey, which is we're learning and evolving. And as Teal Swan mentioned, one of the spiritual teachers I follow occasionally, it's all about experiencing contrast. We need to experience contrast in order to see what we truly need, right? So we need to also have those experiences with partners that don't align exactly with our vibrational level, or they don't have the same values or what have you, so that we can understand what we truly do want in a partner. And, you know, it's like, to use an extreme example, and we did talk a little bit about polarities in the last video, if we come into this reality and everything is given to us, you know, our parents are high vibrational, loving, nurturing, all of our, you know, the first partner we meet is like our soulmate, we get married, we have perfect kids, and so on and so forth. I guess it does happen sometimes, depending on the person's soul's evolutionary level, but quite often it doesn't quite happen that way, and that's for good reason, because of the fact that we need to actually experience certain contrast. And what Teal means by contrast is experiencing what we call negative experiences, like abuse, trauma, people that have various different dysfunctions, narcissism, all kinds of different things. But, you know, I don't regret any of those experiences that I've had with people that were at a so-called lower vibrational level, because those are the greatest teachers. Carlos Castaneda, an author that I enjoy, said that the tyrants in our lives are our greatest teachers. So those of us who are here to evolve, and those of us who recognize, you know, that we need to evolve, will attract certain tyrannical people, whether it's a parent that's abusive, or a partner, or both, or you know, experiencing all kinds of different frightful things and challenges. All of these things, given the right perspective, can be seen as an opportunity for growth of character for letting go of perfectionism, for learning the lessons of self-love, of acceptance, of unconditional love of others, and also just of understanding human psychology, of understanding all of the different variables within human beings. I mean, for me, looking back, you know, when you're in the moment and you're going through the struggle, you don't like it. It's not fun, right?
Mhm.
But in retrospect, you know, I can look back and go, wow, it's so interesting, all of these experiences that I've had, and I wouldn't really have it any other way. Having said that, I do think that once we heal a lot of the issues within the self, like the things that I mentioned, feelings of betrayal, abandonment, rejection, lack of self-love, worthlessness, those are sort of the main things that I end up working with my clients with, that most people seem to struggle with. Once we've actually forgiven the people who've hurt us, and really not because what they did is okay, but because we wish to be at peace within ourselves, and we've let go and we have learned to love ourselves, then we can actually be with a high vibrational partner. But it usually takes, you know, quite a bit of inner work to attract that high vibrational partner, because again, because we understand how manifestation work, like attracts like, as above so below, as within so without. So there's a lot of mirroring that happens. So we're not usually going to attract somebody who is you know, at our vibrational level or higher, unless we're here for their teaching, right? But yeah, it's interesting, but there's, you know, there's a lot to gain from all of these experiences. So I think one of the biggest things is to let go of judgment about ourselves and others and our experiences, and just to seek to understand, to connect.
And also letting go of assumptions about other people, and letting go of the idea you need to change them so they can be perfect. One of the people I follow is Eckhart Tolle, and he's like, don't try to change the person that you're with, try to understand them and be supportive if they want to make the positive change. If they want to heal their addictions, fix something, you be supportive, you be there to help them heal, but you don't say, oh, you're this and that, and this needs to change right now and today. That's not how it works on the soul spirit level. So we must be understanding, we must be supportive, not be judgmental, and not make assumptions, because
Yeah.
when we have miscommunication with life partners, or misunderstandings or misjudgments, that leads to further misunderstanding, and then you're totally confused.
Exactly. So the thing with addiction is we all have addictions. I mean, I could do a whole video just on this because it's such an important topic in today's modern world. But we all have addictions, whether it's television, video games, food, sex, alcohol, drugs, you know, or just becoming obsessed with little things. You know, everybody has little addictions. And for some reason, some of those addictions, like drugs and alcohol, have a much worse stigma in our society. But if we're really honest with ourselves, we're all addicted to something, and it's a way to escape our emotions. It's a way to escape this reality as we're perceiving it, to alter our consciousness, to numb out, to go somewhere else, to not deal with things. And it is a coping mechanism. And for some people, even if it's a self-destructive one, like alcohol or drug use, you know, those are the kind of the not as healthy ones, right? It can be that that person's soul needs to experience that in this lifetime. And I've had to accept that about certain loved ones as well, that they need to experience us, you know, they may need to experience things like alcoholism or other things. And like you say, you can't force anybody to change. So what you need to do is respect their journey and trust in them, that they are doing their best with the tools that they have right now. That's one of the statements from neuro-linguistic programming, that others are always doing their best with the tools that they have, because it's true. And the fact of the matter is, many of us don't have good self-care tools, and this is why we're doing a lot of these addictions to social media and gaming and going more into the virtual reality and all of these different things, or food or pleasures, you know, because it's challenging to be alive, and we're trying to figure out a way to escape or to adjust to this reality, because somehow we're not so well adjusted. And there's a lot of reasons for that too, which I won't get into. But you know, just it's really helped me to learn how to accept others fully and completely. And I think that's one of the important lessons here as well, is to unconditionally love others and understand that just because what they're doing is different than us, to not judge them and to allow them to do what they feel is what they need to do to survive in this world, what they need to do to get by in this world. And, you know, judgment of others really comes from judgment of the self. So if we're not accepting others, we need to really ask ourselves what we're doing to love and accept ourselves, and let go of the shoulds, let go of the judgments, the heavy, heavy judgments we have towards ourselves, which we quite often learn from our parents, our loved ones, our authority figures, and things like that too. But again, it's not our job to dictate to others what to do. So we need to, you know, learn to let go of our control issues and connect with others on a more respectful basis, regardless of their life choices and their lifestyle choices and things of that nature. And I think I didn't actually expect that we would get into this in this video, but I'm really glad that we are, because if you're going to go and talk to someone's higher self, you really do need to do that inner work of letting go of trying to control the other person. You're not communicating with someone's higher self to try to control them, to try to change them, to try to bring them back into your life, to try to, there's lots of videos out there about how to get your ex back and things like that. And you can do that. But the thing is, you know, you've got to do it with the understanding that the other person, their free will needs to be on board as well. And if they're not, then you're barking up the wrong tree. And why are you chasing after someone that isn't emotionally available or ready for you anyway? You know, work on your self-love, and then you'll find that, you know, you don't need to try to communicate so desperately with someone's higher self, because you can communicate with another human being who's more on your level, who's loving you, who's ready for you, who's open to you, right? But having said that, we all have relationships that are strained, right? Whether it's a mother who's worried about her teenager who's getting into drugs, and they want to communicate with their higher self to try to help them heal, or whether it's someone who's trying to connect with a parent or someone who's even crossed over, right? You could also connect to the soul of someone who has passed on. And this can be a really healing, cathartic thing for a lot of people to do as well. Because again, there's oftentimes unresolved emotions and things that can be resolved through this method. So unless there's anything else you wanted to add to that, I would love to go ahead and do that guided meditation to help those listeners who would like to go on that journey to connect with someone's higher self to do so.
Yeah, one thing, like I connect a lot to people's higher selves in sessions and psychic readings and galactic soul readings, where they want to know who their higher self is, what the name is, what the vibration is. And I always tell them, just connect within, go within, because your higher self, and ask to speak to your higher self, and they will connect to you. Just ask. And I've often talked to the souls of people who have passed on behalf of their loved ones. All you need to do is ask to connect to those souls. You don't need third-party people to always connect you. Unless you're blocked for some reason emotionally and it's too hard, then this is what we're here to help with, to remove those blocks and to connect you emotionally to the souls of others who have passed on. And it's still a deep love, even though the person is on the other side. they still love you the same. They still care about you. They want the best for you.
Mhm.
So I've often made those connections and taught people how to create those connections. So those are some of the things that, you know, as we evolve in ascension and our abilities open up, those connections are easier to do, I've noticed.
Yeah, and I've been doing healing work since 2012, but I just started doing mediumship within the last 3 or 4 years, and it's really fulfilling to be able to help um, people to connect with their loved ones who've passed on. A lot of time there can be a lot of unresolved things that need to be expressed, and it's absolutely just miraculous that I can connect with their loved ones in that way, that I can communicate to them, that I can hear what they have to say to their loved ones who are still here.
Mhm.
And yeah, it can be a very healing thing. So I feel very blessed to be able to do that too. So unless there's anything else, would you like to go ahead and do that guided visualization with me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll just explain what we're doing so that you're all aware. I'm going to try to keep it fairly short because these videos, we're trying to keep them more kind of informational, educational, kind of conversational type of a deal. But I do want to provide this for you if you would like to connect with somebody right now, just to give you a little bit of a primer, a bit of an idea of how that process works. So what we're going to do is we're just going to relax. We're going to connect with our safe place within, and then we're going to invite the higher self of our loved one in, or whoever's higher self you wish to connect with. And then what I want you to do is just think of a few questions that you'd like to ask them, and then I'm going to prompt you to ask those questions to that person. Now, in terms of how well this process will work for you, it depends on whether you've had any experience with meditation or whether you have had any psychic training. And again, if you need that training, both Ileana and I do offer psychic development courses and metaphysical courses about manifestation and magic and things like that, which can all help with the contact of other beings and things of that nature. But I would suggest just try it out. You know, even Ileana and I, when we first tried this process, we had a facilitator come in and help us with this process. Primarily our teacher, Leonard Howell, who was a shamanic practitioner, helped us to guide us on a guided journey. And we'll talk about that more later. But this is sort of the general template that we use. So the idea is that we're traveling to our safe place, which is on the astral. So it's that plane that you go when you're sleeping. It's the higher plane. You want to be as relaxed as possible. And then you can just say whatever you want to say to your higher self person, whoever it is that you're trying to communicate with them. Maybe ask them a couple of questions. Open your mind to what they have to say, and then we'll go back to the safe place and then we'll come back. Okay, sound good?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I want everybody to just either sitting down, if you're sitting, just put your feet on the ground or sitting in the lotus position, whatever is more comfortable for you. Or if you'd like to take a moment now to lay down on the couch or the bed, wherever is more comfortable for you. When you're meditating, you don't necessarily have to be sitting with your back straight. That is one traditional form, but meditation is really, it's not a religious thing. It's really just a relaxation practice that can be used for many different things. So if you're not already meditating, I do highly recommend that you do that, because as I say, it will help you to connect with your higher self, which provides a lot of wisdom, a lot of answers, and the higher self of others, which, as we've explained, provides a lot of healing and a lot of different answers as well. So go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Make sure you feel grounded and relaxed. Get your pillows and blankets all situated. Make sure that you're warm and comfortable, and close your eyes. And I'm going to go on this journey with you. And Ileana and I are bringing our guardian angels, our spirit guides, our animal guides here to assist you, to help protect you through this journey. And we'll have more information after this video. And you can always just skip forward if you're not ready to do this journey right now and listen to this later when you're ready. But it's a very simple journey, nothing to worry about. You're going to be conscious the whole time. You're going to be aware the whole time. So make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a deep breath in. And breathe out, relax. Relax your chest, your neck, your head, your full body. Just be comfortable where you are. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing a feeling of peace into your heart and belly. And breathe out through your mouth, a big sigh, let go of any anxiety and worry. Just let it all go. Let go of your day, let go of what you have coming up in the next little while. Just let go of all thought and all concern. Let it all go. Another deep breath in. And breathe out. And now visualize some grounding cords, so some cords of energy going from the base of your spine and the bottoms of your feet, going down, down, down deep into the earth, like energetic tree roots, going deep into the earth. And before we do any journeying, we always ground ourselves to the earth, feeling very connected to the physical earth. And visualize those roots going down, 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 deep into the center of the earth. And take a deep breath in. Breathe green, clean energy from Mother Earth flowing up your feet, up your roots, up into your body. Filling your body with green, clean, grounding earth. And breathe out. Spread that grounding energy through your whole body, through every cell of your body, filling yourself with the grounding energies of Mother Earth, knowing that you are grounded, you are safe, you are held by Mother Earth's tender embrace. You are a part of Mother Nature. You are supported by the earth beneath you. Feel that weight of the earth beneath you, connected to the earth. So as we travel to the astral, our physical bodies are beautifully and perfectly anchored safely to the earth. And take a deep breath in. Again, breathe in green and clear amber light from Mother Earth flowing up our roots into our heart, our belly, and to every cell of the body. And breathe out, let go of anything you're ready to let go of now. Let go of any fear, any anxiety, let it all go. Take a deep breath in, breathing in healing, peaceful energy into your body, into your heart, and breathe out, let go. Release, surrender into this beautiful safe space. And now picture yourself in your safe space. Now that could be a place at home, comfortable in your bed, in your living room, or wherever you feel most safe in your home. Comfortable, warm, and safe. Or it could be a beautiful place in nature like the beach, a beautiful forest, jungle, by the water, waterfall, river, whatever feels good for you. And if you've never felt safe, just picture yourself feeling in a place that feels really joyful for you, that feels inspiring, that helps you to feel happy and content. Now picture that place in beautiful detail. If you're in nature, picture the sun, the golden light pouring down on you. Picture the gentle breeze. Picture the warmth of the earth, the beautiful nature around you. Or just picture yourself all wrapped up like a cocoon in your blankets. I like to picture both, just wrapped up and feeling connected in nature. And take a deep breath in, breathe these feelings of safety, of this beautiful, safe, sacred environment into your heart and your belly. And breathe out, relax right into that. And now picture someone that you love very much, It doesn't have to be necessarily the person you want to communicate with in terms of connecting with the higher self, but just someone that you feel love for easily. Could be anybody or a pet, whoever you feel love for quickly and easily. And feel that love in your heart. Take a deep breath in, breathe that feeling of love in your heart. And breathe out, spread that feeling of love all through your heart and deep down, planted in your belly. Feeling of love and security, warm fuzzies, like a warm hug, just wrapping around you. Feels so good. Now feel yourself in your safe place and breathe in that newfound love you feel in your heart. Breathe the safety and love deep into your heart. And breathe out. And just repeat after me in your mind or out loud. I am safe.
I am safe. I am loved.
All is well.
All is well.
And now we're in our safe place, in our sacred place. And our higher self is there in the higher realms, in our safe place, feeling comfortable, warm, and relaxed. And whenever you're ready, take a deep breath in and breathe out, relax into that space. Allow your astral self, your higher self, to float into that higher dimension of your safe place, knowing that you're safe and anchored here as well in the physical reality. And allow your higher self now to invite in the higher self of the person that you wish to speak with. And I recommend just contact one person for now. You can always do this visualization again whenever you want to contact the higher self of someone else. But whoever's higher self you want to contact, whether it's a parent, a lover, a partner, whoever it is, as a family member, someone that you wish to connect with, maybe because you want to send them healing. Maybe you are in contact with them, but you just want to send them love and healing and light. Or maybe it's someone you haven't been able to contact and you just want to send them love and healing, or maybe ask them some things that you feel unresolved about. So just visualize their higher self now. This is the highest aspect of them. There's no emotion attached. Simply their higher self, no judgment. Complete acceptance and beautiful, unconditional love is flowing between the two of you. Now this is, again, this is not their personality. This is not their ego. And ask them now, say their name, and ask them to come in. Ask their higher self specifically to come in to your safe place now to communicate with you. And ask them if this is okay to do so now. And open up your mind and wait for their response, and wait to hear if they say yes or no. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Completely let go of their answer. Even if they say no, you can continue on with this meditation, or you can ask someone else. Remember, if they say no, we must respect their decision at this time. They may say yes at a later time. And ask them once again, say their name and their higher self. Please, are you willing to come into this higher self connection at this time? Are you willing to talk to us at this time? Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Open up your heart to their answer. And if they're saying yes, please continue on. If they say no, you may listen to this meditation and communicate with your own higher self at this time, just for now. And if they've said yes, visualize them sitting with you, relaxing with you in your sacred safe space. And if there's anything you'd like to express to them now, please express that to them now. It could be things that you're feeling, your emotions, could be things that you wanted to say to them, but you are afraid to say. Whatever it is that you would like to say, take a deep breath in and breathe out, and just using your inner voice, so not out loud, but just communicating to them psychically. Tell them now what it is that you'd like to say to them right now. Visualize you saying those words to them right now.
I am blessed to know your golden radiance. And I am blessed to know you as my soul family. And I'm connected to the higher self, Chloe, right now. I see her as a beautiful fairy with golden wings and long blonde hair. And this golden light star above us, this beautiful love connection of golden energies from her past life. So this is what I'm connected to, and I love her very much. And the name I'm picking up that comes in is Ciara in that past life. Even though I'm connected to Chloe's higher self, I'm seeing Ciara, and that can happen too. It's her higher self aspect. She's giving me a golden hug and this beautiful healing warmth. So beautiful. Thank you, Chloe.
You're welcome. So for those of you that are connecting with someone else, you can always pause this video and continue on that connection and express to them as much as you would like to say in peace and silence. And now if you're finished expressing everything that you want to say to this person, and again, you can pause the video if you wish to say more. Let's go and ask them now any questions that you would like to ask them. So Ileana, you can always mute the video if you want to say this out loud so that others can hear their own higher self message, up to you. So just take a deep breath in, feeling yourself in your safe space. And breathe out, relax. And connect now with that person's higher self once again and ask them whatever it is that you would like to ask them now. Now imagine that you're sending out your question psychically from your mind to their mind, their higher self mind. So there's no emotion attached, no emotional reaction whatsoever. And take a deep breath in and relax. And send that question to them now. And open up your mind and your heart to the answer. And just listen to what they have to say. You don't have to like it. You don't have to even understand it. Just try to have compassion to what they have to say. Listen with an open heart and an open mind. And if you're having any difficulty hearing what they have to say, don't worry. Again, this process can take time. It can take practice. It can take repetition. You may need to listen to this more than once to connect with your higher self and with their higher self. Just try to clear your mind of all thought and worry and concern and emotion. Feel peace and safety in your heart and listen openly to what this person has to say. Remember, we're connecting with this person to understand them and to help them on their journey and to help ourselves. So we want to listen without judgment. So take a deep breath in and breathe out. And again, if you need to pause this video to listen more to what the other person's higher self has to say, feel free to pause. There may be a long explanation here needed from the other person. And again, you may need to do this exercise more than once to get all the answers that you're looking for. And now take a deep breath in and breathe out. Relax once again into your safe place. And now if you're open to it, you can send them a little bit of distance healing. So imagine now a big, beautiful golden sun above your head, anywhere from 6 feet up and higher. A beautiful golden white light flowing down from the sun down into your heart, flowing forgiveness and compassion into your heart. Because remember, it's impossible for you to feel any negative emotions at the same time as feeling compassion and forgiveness. So try to forgive the other person for whatever they may have done. Forgive yourself. Not because it was a right action or anything, but because it's time for you to resolve this within yourself, to make peace within yourself. To let go of needing to control and to unconditionally love and accept this person. And take a deep breath in, breathing that healing golden light from the sun deep into the top of your head, into your heart and your belly. And breathe out, connecting with the unconditional love of the universe, of your divine self, of your higher self, and the unconditional love that this other person has for you. Because whatever happened between the two of you, it's not because they didn't like you, it's not because they rejected you. They truly, on their higher self level, they love you, because all there is in this universe is love. That is the truth of this existence. So now is the time to let go of all of that drama, all of those lower self struggles, and embrace the unconditional divine love from above and all around. And if you're needing extra support, you can ask your guardian angels to come in and assist both of you with this. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And if you're open to it, you can see either your gurus, your angels, or anyone you feel comfortable with or not, surrounding you with more divine light of healing. Take a deep breath in, breathe that feeling of healing, of that divine unconditional love from the sun, the solar light, the universe, into your heart and your belly. And breathe out. And now send some of that golden healing light to the person's higher self that you're communicating with, if you feel comfortable, if you're open to it. And if you see that they might be needing healing. Because if there is something going on, the chances are it's not about you. It could be that other person is hurting. Quite often, if someone treats us a certain way that we don't like, it's because of what's going on within them. It has nothing to do with us. So feeling that compassion you have for the other person and what they're going on with, take a deep breath in, breathe that healing light, that golden healing light into your heart. And breathe out, sending out that golden healing light from your heart to their heart. Sending pink, rose gold healing light from your heart to their heart And you can extend out your hands if you feel comfortable, or you can just imagine that your etheric hands are sending out love to them from the universe through you to them. Love, healing, compassion, and forgiveness. Healing whatever it is they're struggling with. Healing whatever it is you're struggling with in your relationship together. Letting go of all of that and surrounding you with love, joy, healing, and forgiveness. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Send rainbow light, different colored light, whatever colored light feels good for you, sending that to you, to them, surrounding both of you with this healing light. And if you're ready to let go and forgive, if there is any forgiveness that's needing to happen, you can say within your mind, not out loud, just within your mind. We can do Ho'oponopono, which is the Hawaiian healing prayer. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Not because what you did is okay, but because I forgive you. I wish to let go of all of this and find peace within my heart. I forgive you. I forgive you. I embrace the peace and I like the feeling of letting go. I forgive you. I forgive myself. And say your name. I forgive you. And say your name. I thank you. I love you. And now say your own name. I love you. Chloe, I love you. Ileana, I love you. Whatever your name is, say that out loud or in your mind's eye. I love you. I love you. And now give them a big hug with healing light surrounding both of you. Angel light surrounding you with a blissful, comforting, safe, good feeling. Dissolving away all negativity, dissolving away all struggle, dissolving away all conflict and replacing it with love, compassion, healing, and forgiveness. Take a deep breath in, breathe in all of that beautiful healing colored light energy into your aura, that energy around you into their aura, the higher self of the person you're sending this healing to. And allow all of these conversations moving forward between the two of you, whether on the higher realms or within person, to be gentle and loving from now on, as much as you can. Gentle, loving communication on all levels. And take a deep breath in. Receive that hug from the universe. Breathe out. Receive that hug from the other person. Feel the love between the two of you. And see all negative cords dissolving between the two of you. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And again, you can pause this video if you wish to just absorb some of this loving light in even more. And if you're ready to move forward, simply allow that higher self of that person to go back to where they came from. They didn't really leave. A higher self can just have a conversation with you anytime. Just say thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for talking with me, for sharing this healing energy with me. And bring yourself back into your safe place. Take a deep breath in. And breathe out, connecting once again to Mother Earth's healing energies. Feeling grounded. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, rub your hands together to bring that golden light energy from the higher realms back to you. And take a deep breath in, breathe that golden healing light energy into your hands. And breathe out, placing your hands over your chest to absorb all that good energy. Give yourself a little wiggle to bring yourself back into the physical realm. And take a deep breath in, closing and opening your eyes, fluttering your eyelids, allowing yourself to bring that peacefulness into the room now where you are now in your physical body. Okay, so whenever you're ready, you can pause this video and have a little nap if you're feeling very relaxed, or you can continue on here. I just wanted to do a little demonstrative video, and we will include some links below for different healers' processes in terms of connecting with higher self, in terms of traveling on the astral, sending healing to others and things of that nature. But just so that you have a little bit of an understanding, I wanted to do a little visualization. So how was that for you, Ileana? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, and the reason why I said who I connected to was just so people could see what I was experiencing a little bit, because I was actually doing it with you, the meditation. So I connected with a fairy self of yours. That's how I saw your higher self. And she was
That's
beautiful.
awesome.
Yeah, golden wings and golden blonde long hair. She had a star, like a golden star that emitted energy. And she said her name was like Ciara, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gave me roses, like back and forth. She gave me golden roses, and I sent golden, healing, loving light to her and connected to her. So for me, and we were like in the sun, sitting in a golden ring as you were doing the meditation. That's what I was experiencing.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so that was really neat, because I could see like different dimensions of reality. I could see my dimension, I could see your dimension, and that I could see the viewers' dimensions, how they were connecting to different individuals too. So it was a really interesting shared experience, I feel. And you know, as you know, I have actually experienced a past life as a fairy-like being. So that was really neat that you connected to that particular aspect of me. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I didn't ask her any questions. I just connected to her love, her golden energy, and she had like these little sparks of gold around her, and she encircled me in those sparks and hugged me and gave me healing, and I hugged her and sent her golden roses as healing in return, because she loved roses.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love roses. I try to put rose oil in practically everything, because a rose is very healing. The metaphysical properties of rose are of love and peace and harmony. So they're lovely. I mean, so many flowers I love. I was a florist in an not even in a past life, but in this life. In an earlier time in my life, I was a florist. My mom is also an avid gardener, so I love flowers and roses. And yeah, that was really neat that you shared that, because hopefully, you know, others were able to connect with that aspect of me as well, in terms of guiding them on their journey and providing the healing energy that's necessary to do that journey. It does take a lot of courage to communicate with others on the higher levels, because we really have to let go of our own ego. We have to let go of the ego self of the other person too. And that can take courage as well, because sometimes, especially if we feel hurt by the other person, we can say, oh, well, they're being a jerk, or they're being this or that, or they're whatever. And maybe they are, you know, I don't know. But the thing is, in order to communicate with a higher self, we have to be able to really let go of all of that. And again, we did cover that in the first video, but it's really letting go of all the identities, right? Of, oh, I think this person is doing this, or even the simple things like I'm a healer, I'm an artist, I'm a singer, you know, which are some of the ego identities that I identify with. These are not who I am on the higher self. These are just conduits for my higher self-expression, right? So we have to understand with others as well, they can be all of these different things, and they can do all of these different types of behaviors in their personality, but their higher self, you know, depending how connected or disconnected they are from that higher self, these are just ways that we communicate different aspects of the self. So I hope that those of you that are watching this video were able to connect with either someone else's higher self, or at the very least your own higher self. And as I say, if you want more opportunities to do that, we'll provide some links below. And we'll also encourage you to book a session with us, because these are the things that we specialize in. And if you were to book a session with us, you know, it would be customized to exactly the person that you're trying to connect with, or exactly the experience that you're wanting to have. So I just made it a little bit more general, so that whoever is watching can connect with whoever they wish to connect with. Now, do we have time to also touch a little bit on the soul? How are we doing for time here?
Yeah, we're good for time. We can touch on the soul, the past lives a little bit, and about the afterlife a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. So one of the main things that we learn from our shamanic teacher, Leonard, is that when we're connecting with different lifetimes, okay, when we're connecting with our own past lives, the most important thing to remember is that this particular lifetime is the most important, the most evolved version of ourselves. So it can be provocative and tempting to connect with some of these past lives, because we were these incredible people. You know, for me, in one of my past lives, I was one of the oracles of Delphi, and I was a very powerful person, and I was a much better psychic than I am today. And I can, of course, you know, connect with those abilities now. But, you know, in different lifetimes, we have different levels of ability in different areas. But even having said that, even though I was this incredibly powerful person, it doesn't necessarily mean that I was a better person. In fact, I wasn't. There was a lot of other things going on. You know, for example, I wasn't really able to have the connection with others that I would have liked to have, because I was in this temple where I basically was there to serve others, to, you know, give others information through prophecies, and you know, so in many ways it was not ideal. And so in this lifetime, one of my purposes here is to basically help myself and others understand the various intricacies around human connection, around human relationships. This is one of my great passions. And, you know, I was thinking about soul purpose too, as to whether we want to talk about this today or not, because this is something I'm really passionate about talking about, but maybe we'll talk about that in another video. But the soul purpose does tie in with understanding our past lives as well, because it helps us to kind of understand the trajectory of the different lifetimes that we've had here on Earth, or perhaps even other lifetimes that we've had on other planets. Ileana, I know you've had lifetimes on many different planets, different, you know, around the galaxy, and you've really traveled around quite a bit. And interestingly enough, I've also seen some of my past lives as other beings as well, where I've been to other planets. And I've also seen clairvoyantly some of my clients, when I was doing the clairvoyant past life reading, I've seen some of them were other beings. They were even extraterrestrial humanoid beings, or they were elemental beings from very early Earth. So there's a lot of really interesting things about the soul that I'm still learning. And one of our influences that I wanted to share with the audience is Dolores Cannon, because Dolores Cannon really, I think, opened up our eyes to the idea of the soul family, the idea that the soul can have different experiences on different planets prior to incarnating here on Earth, that we could have thousands of different past lifetimes that we're not aware of, that we can tune into specific lifetimes that may have certain valuable lessons for us in this particular incarnation. So many interesting things about the soul that we learned from Dolores Cannon, and the QHHT, the quantum healing hypnosis therapy, which is where, you know, Ileana and I sort of developed our own unique ways of doing soul journeying. So there's soul journeying where you connect with your past lifetimes through hypnosis, and then there's a more gentle method through journeying into your past lives using the shamanic guided meditation journey, which is similar to what we just did now, where you go into a safe place or you go into the sacred forest, you cross the river of time, and then you go to other locations on the astral within your imagination. But even though it's in the imagination, it doesn't make it not real. You're still journeying and you're still connecting to different aspects of the self. And one thing I realized about that too is, for those of you that are not too sure whether past lives are real, or maybe it doesn't align with your religious beliefs. You know, some Christians don't believe in past lives because it's not part of the traditional Bible. Although in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Jesus talks about something very similar to reincarnation, which is quite interesting. But even if that doesn't align with you on a religious level, or you've never experienced anything that might inspire you to think that past lives might be a thing, just look at it from a psychological perspective. Even if we were to look at past life journeying just purely from a psychological exercise, you are connecting with different aspects of your persona. So how can that not be fruitful? Like, anytime we're connecting with the self, as far as I'm concerned, coming from the perspective of a healer, coming from the perspective, obviously, as someone who is very passionate about personal development, I think any kind of journeying where you're going within, where you're connecting with the self, whether you look at it from a more scientific perspective, that, you know, I'm connecting with different aspects of myself and it's all in my imagination, it's my psychology, or whether you're looking at it from a more spiritual perspective, that you're connecting with literally different lifetimes that you've lived before, it doesn't really matter because the benefits are all the same. And so, as much as I'm a spiritual person, I'm a logical person. And with my healing work, my goal is to always provide benefit for myself and others. So as long as it's beneficial, I think it's a good thing. And so let's go into some of the reasons why we might want to connect with other people's souls or with our past lifetimes. So again, for me, I think partly because a lot of my journey in this life has been around relationships. For me, I originally wanted to do a past life journey. The first time I did a past life journey, it was because I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on in a relationship, because there was a lot of problems in that particular relationship. It was many years ago. And honestly, it really helped me to understand the dynamic in that relationship. Sometimes, for example, we can meet somebody and we feel like they did us wrong or they betrayed us, but quite often it's because of a role reversal situation where we might have done them wrong in a previous life, or we needed to learn something particular from that situation. So once we actually understand that story and we understand why, that there was a purpose for it, it takes away a lot of the suffering and a lot of the drama of the situation, because it's like, okay, well, you know, this was meant to happen because I was meant to learn self-love, or I was meant to help this person in this life because maybe I didn't help them, or maybe I even hurt them in a past life. So maybe that's why I, you know, for me personally, with one of my partners, I felt this strong urge to help this person, and I didn't know why, because they didn't particularly treat me that well, but I did. And I feel that I cleared that karma because I realized in the past life journeying that I didn't help them in the way that I should in my past life. I didn't use my power and influence to help them when I could have. Whereas in this life, I had the ability to really help them. And I helped them. And once I was finished helping them, the relationship basically was over. And it was weird because I thought well, why do I feel this strong connection? But then once all of the things that were meant to play out in the relationship already played out, it no longer needed to be there. And of course, you know, there's always a bit of suffering and grieving when a relationship ends, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it was meant to be for long term. There are certain things that need to play out. Now, I just want to point out, because some people might be getting confused between what we just did in terms of communicating with the higher self and communicating with the soul. Okay, so when we're talking about the soul, again, I see it more here, below the chest area, the thymus area. The soul is there. More, it has more of a connection to the emotions and to the physical experiences that we had in our early life and our past lifetimes. So the soul has a more denser, more emotional aspect that has to do with our memories from our past lives, and it has to do with our destiny and our will that we are manifesting towards the future as well. So it's difficult to put into words, but it has a more weighty feel to it that is more connected in the center of the body, whereas the higher self feels more like it's up here above the crown. Possibly that's why it's called the higher self. It can also be called the superconscious, because it's, you know, the highest aspect of the imagination that is connected to the higher realms, like the angels, the higher level beings, and so on. Does that make sense, or do you want to clarify a little bit more about the difference between the soul and the spirit? I mean, we did talk about this in the last video, but I just wanted to clarify again.
Well, I'm going to use the example of meeting Ciara, your higher self. I saw her as you, but as you from a past life. So obviously I knew that she was your higher self because she embodied the blonde, long hair, which you had for the longest time. She embodied your golden healing energy. So she looked like you. So I knew that was your higher self, but she had wings. So that was, and she said, I was a fairy in Chloe's past life. So I was connecting to your higher self and your past life self. So I was connecting to some of your soul self with the flowers. I didn't know that you were a florist before, or that roses are your favorite color. Well, roses are one of your favorite flowers and colors. So to me, I was like, oh, I learned something new about her today, about who she is now in this current lifetime, who she was in a past life self, and her golden higher self. So it's like connecting to all three things. And I tuned in on all three levels to that, because that's part of just my ability that I have now. Perhaps in like 2000s, I couldn't connect to all three aspects, because my ability is to see everything as much as I can in the experience while you were doing the meditation. So I got to see all three aspects: the higher self of you, the past life self view, and the soul self view now with the flowers. And you know, your higher self facilitated that. She was the one facilitating all three aspects for me to connect to and see. So it's a multi-dimensional, multi-purpose experience, I think. And
yeah,
it connects on a deeper level to everything. So for me, the soul is mostly connected to the past life stuff and the current stuff, and how it interrelates together, how there could be something from your past life that you need to know about to learn in your current life to help you improve your life and make things better. Like for me, for example, the reason why I started doing past life regressions and finding Leonard and Angelea was because I wasn't connected or grounded to my earth life. I felt like I didn't belong here. I didn't know my soul mission, my soul purpose, you know. And I think I was living in denial of being on earth. I didn't want to be on earth anymore. And I didn't understand that all those previous galactic past lives, once I connected to them, I understood how beautiful they were and what purposes they served, and how it helps me with my mission on earth to help other people to figure out what their galactic lifetimes were, what the beauty was, what the struggles were in some of those lifetimes, because even the ET lifetimes are not perfect all the time. They're living beings just like us. They might be more advanced technologically and spiritually, but they're still beings. So once I understood who I was, it just made it easier for me to live in this 3D realm, because I'm used to living as a light body or as beings in the higher realms, 4 and up. So coming back to this 3D reality was very difficult for me in this lifetime. But once I did the past life stuff, it just released all that difficulty and that pain. And you've known me all throughout that journey, and I've known you through your journeys of relationships and soul discovery. So it's about, hey, it's beautiful being in this world. I finally understand what my past lives are and what I'm here currently to help people with. Part of my soul mission and my soul purpose, I guess, is to help people connect with various aspects of their being and realities. Because you're not just one thing, you're multidimensional. To help people teach that, how to do that, how to connect with energetics on their soul frequency, on their higher self frequency, their past life frequency, and their here, who they are in the here and the now, the I am, the soul within. So that's one of my purposes, one of my missions, but there's many other aspects to the missions, which you can learn from exploring the soul, the higher self, and the past lives. You can learn what your soul missions are, what your soul purposes are. And you and I have discussed this quite often. What our soul purposes are, what the missions are. It's not just one thing. It's many different things that we do that fulfill our purposes in life.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that about the multidimensional self, because I just want to clarify, when I'm differentiating between the soul and the spirit, it's not because anything is separate. Everything is integrated, the mind, the body, the emotions, the soul, the spirit. But I think that it sometimes helps to just kind of differentiate a little, because the main point here is that when we differentiate, we can kind of more easily talk about it, because I think a lot of people think the soul and the spirit is the same thing. And to me, the soul, from my experiences and from what I've learned, has more to do with healing a lot of the trauma and the suffering and the emotions and the karma and things like that we've experienced. And to me, karma is just negative emotions that we haven't yet cleared. So we can use different modalities like EFT, which is emotional freedom technique healing. We can use crystal healing, Reiki healing, but past life healing is one of the most profound things for a lot of people, because we can connect with these different aspects of our past lifetimes, which helps to inform, like you said, on your journey, how it helped to inform your journey as a progression, right? And for me as well, some of the key past lives I had were as an oracle, as a herbalist, and as a witch, basically. Surprise, surprise. And I've had many other lifetimes too, but those were sort of some of the key ones that helped me to understand the person that I am today, and some of the knowledge that I came in inherently knowing. So this is another sort of hint that for me indicates that past lives are real, is that some of us come into this life and we have knowledge inherently within us. Some people, they just come into this world and they just start playing a masterpiece on the piano without ever having a piano lesson in their life. How can you explain that without having past lives as a possible explanation? Or myself, when I connected with the herbalist aspect of myself, I all of a sudden started downloading information about plants. And then when Ileana and I went foraging for plants for various different, metaphysical purposes, I started to just feel drawn to certain plants and just know that I needed to gather certain plants. I didn't necessarily know what they were called or what they were for, but when I would go home and look them up, they'd be exactly what I needed. So we can have this, once we open the doorway, and, you know, Leonard said it was basically dissolving the veil of forgetfulness, because we come in, and I love the way that you talk about this too, Ileana. When we come into this incarnation, we have this veil of veil of forgetfulness over us, hanging over us. And this is why we don't remember our past lifetimes. First of all, it would be way too traumatic to remember all of our past lifetimes. And our mind would not be able to process it. Like, our minds are amazing computers, but we wouldn't be able to process all the trauma and all the memories, nor would we be able to store that. It's like there's only so much RAM in there, you know. You can't store like thousands of lifetimes in there. And especially, you know, when you're a child, you're a baby, you don't even know what the heck is going on. So there's no way that you could process all of that. So it's not until, you know, from an evolutionary astrology perspective, which is sort of the astrological model that I work from, when we get to about, you know, between the ages of 30 and 40, that's when we can really begin to dissolve away those veils of forgetfulness. Some people, the journey starts earlier. My journey started kind of in my, well, it's pretty much my whole, I mean, for you and I, it was pretty much our whole life dissolving that layer, and we've always been connected to those higher realms, those otherworldly realms. But you know, I can say honestly that my journey started in earnest, where I was consciously aware of that journey more in my mid-20s. But for most people, I find, in terms of transcending, you know, your astrological chart and overcoming some of your challenges because of past life karma or what have you, you can start dissolving away those veils of forgetfulness in your adulthood. And that way you can start to really connect with your soul's journey and what it is that you really want to do here. And let go of a lot of the social programming that might have slowed down that process up until then. So, but it's really, you know, an individual journey. Everybody comes to it when they're ready. Some people never come to it in this lifetime, and some people are, you know, fascinated by it for some reason or another. And then as soon as they open that door, the floodgates open, and all of a sudden, all this incredible information about who they are starts to come in. And it's, for me, it was a very grounding and comforting experience when I first had a past life journey, because it really kind of helped me feel more whole, you know. And that's one of the things with past life journeying that you can do. It's called soul retrieval, where you bring in different fragments of the soul and you bring it back into the body, absorb it back into the body. Because a lot of us feel very fragmented because we don't know who we are or where we came from. So when we have a better idea of our background, we can integrate that knowledge, those experiences, and that wisdom back into the self and back into the physical body, and feel much more whole and stable. You know, like you said, you weren't totally anchored to this plane. So when you did that journeying, how did that help you to become more anchored here?
Well, I was physically suffering. I was in physical pain because my emotional self wasn't happy living here on earth, and I had suicidal thoughts. I had those, yeah. I had been depressed. I was unhappy. So once I saw the past life stuff in the soul, I did the soul retrieval. I realized I don't have to be unhappy. I don't have to be angry. Those are just physical traits of my unhappiness and my desires being unfulfilled, because I was repressing myself with doing a job that I was meant to do for a certain number of years. That comes to the physical aspect of me, but I wasn't very happy. That wasn't my forever job. Going back into my past lives, I learned that I had been a herbal witch, a herbalist and a witch in a 13th century, and I had written 3 grimoires. with healing poultices, doing different types of healing modalities with crystals, with the poultices, with the ointments, herbs. I had a herb garden. I was living in England in the woods, in beautiful green woods. I had my own cabin. I had my own garden. I was burned at the stake because I was healing people. People were coming to me for healing with the herbs and the crystals. I was burned for it because even in the 13th century, they didn't understand what white light Wiccan witches were.
Mhm.
So in this lifetime, I always felt repressed, like my magic was gone, like I was disconnected from my energetic magic. That's why I wanted to learn different forms of magic, crystal healing, psychic development, Akashic records reading, galactic soul reading, past life readings, hypnosis, soul retrieval, like you name it. I went into it, and you went into it as well, because and I taught you crystal healing because I wanted to teach as well. So those were all things about myself that I was physically, mentally, and emotionally repressing. I wasn't acknowledging that I was more than just a library technician, that I was a healer, a psychic. All of this can be looked at as labels, but to me, it felt energetically right to expand my soul. And once I did the soul retrieval and the past life regressions, I understood that my soul was being repressed on this physical plane of existence. And I was so much more energetically than my physical body was acknowledging, and that I needed to go into that healing, into that spirituality, into the advancement of my soul and my higher self, to connect with them and not just be purely physical person earning money in a library. Yes, I love knowledge. I love understanding the publishing of books, the writing of books. That's one part of me. That's one of my soul missions, but it's not my primary soul mission. There's so many different aspects of my soul missions and purposes that I'm now fulfilling that I was super repressing before doing the past life stuff and the soul retrievals. And I did several of them because I had many different fragments stuck in my past lives and stuck in my current lifetime even, because I wasn't expressing myself to the fullest ability as a soul and a higher self of myself in this physical human body.
Mm-hmm.
And that was painful
Right.
for me.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, a lot of these things are, it's like going through the meat grinder or the rock polisher when we're going through these inner and outer transformations, and it can be very painful, but when we come through it, things do get better. That's the good news. So just to explain a little bit to our audience about how we do the past life journeying, what we do is basically guide you on a shamanic journey. You can bring whatever spirit guides, angel guides, anyone that you feel will provide protection, or not. You can just bring your higher self and our guides with you if you prefer. And then we take you through a sacred forest, then you cross the river of time, and then it depends on, we have, changed these protocols somewhat over the years, but basically we introduce you to your past life person, but not as yourself. You go in as an avatar of yourself. That way you're fully protected and grounded here in the physical reality. And then you have usually some questions prepared. So this is what Ileana was talking about in regards to clarifying, your soul purpose and things like that. So a lot of times we have questions that are important for us to ask when we're at this stage. Some people may even call it a soul review, like a halftime review, where we're sort of in the midlife area. But it varies again from person to person, but we're basically at that point where we have key questions. So those key questions could be about, am I in the right relationship? Or what do I need to do to make this relationship work? Or questions about family members. These are all key soul questions. Or what is my divine calling in terms of my work or my creativity? How can I spark my creativity more, or creative projects, or art or music or what have you? These are all things, whatever the passion is that you have, wherever your affinities are, wherever your love is, these are the questions that you want to ask, because what we love, what we have affinity for in this life, are the things that our soul is being magnetized towards. So we want to try to dissolve away some of the matrices of consciousness that are imposed on us from the outer world, and connect with the inner world more, so that we can follow our heart and follow our soul's desire and what it is that we really want to be doing. And I'd really want to do a next video about soul purpose, because I've been thinking about this a lot today. But it is one of the ways that you can find those important answers. So what you would want to do is write down those answers before your session with us. We would do a freebie today, but the thing is, for me, it takes at least a couple of hours. For you, Ileana, it's how long? Like an hour and a half or something?
Well, it depends how many questions a person wants to ask. So I do it for an hour and 15 minutes to 2 to 3 hours. It depends how in depth they want to go. Some people want to look at 15 different past lives to see what they can bring in from those past lives to help them improve their current lifetime. And that's all they focus in. Sometimes people want to ask many questions, what's relevant to their current life, to the past lives. So it even depends on the purpose of what you're going into for the past life to figure out. Sometimes people can't even create the questions. There's 0 questions. We just go into the past life and we explore whatever comes in through the river of time or the rainbow body bridge. And they just free flow into the lifetimes and explore. So there's many different possibilities in what you'll be looking at and exploring and learning about in past lives. Sometimes they even connect to their higher self or their soul from this lifetime. That's an aspect of them in this lifetime, and that's what they look at. Even though it's a past life regression, they connect to their current self to see the deeper aspects of what they need from this life to explore. So there's many variables and opportunities. I try to be as flexible with this as I can, depending on the person's needs and wants and desires and purposes. So it can be customized.
Right. Yes, exactly. And it's usually done separately to other healing modalities, because it is such an in-depth journey. It's like a shamanic journey, and it can be anywhere from, like I said, a gentle meditative journey where you're fully conscious, to a deeply hypnotic journey where you're semi-conscious, depending on your comfort level. Of course, we're only going to do what you're comfortable with. So yeah, so I mean, it's like you say, it's totally customized to whatever it is that you're looking for at this time. And some people like to do it more than once. You know, I've done it more than once because there's more than one lifetime that I want to look at. And I find that I can usually only really deeply look at 1 or 2 lifetimes in one sitting. But again, it depends on what the person is looking for, really.
And this connects also to the afterlife, because in past lives, there's also life in between lifetimes and the afterlife that you could look at. And that's what Dolores Cannon taught us. And afterlives can look very different. In between the lifetime, you can pause and reflect on your life journey and what you experienced. So like a soul review.
And that's really interesting. I just wanted to put in there about the soul review. I've had a few people come up to me randomly and tell me their entire life story, pretty much, and use me as a sounding board. And I didn't know why that was happening. But when I did a little bit of research, another healer friend of mine, Michelle, she pointed out in one of her videos where she's teaching about different types of light workers, that some light workers attract these type of people who tell you everything about themselves because it's their way of doing a life review. They don't actually consciously realize they're doing a life review with you. They just feel magnetized to you. They just zone into you and they just start telling you everything. And then, you know, whatever you say to them, you channel whatever messages that they need to hear, whether it's to comfort them that they're doing okay in that area, or whether it's to gently guide them in the area that they want to go in terms of, you know, feeling the most fulfilled in this particular lifetime. But yeah, the life review can actually happen even when we're consciously there with the other person, just in terms of, you know, providing counseling, providing feedback, being a sounding board for them to share their story, which is a big part of it. But also, like you say, you know, from what we've been taught and from what I understand, people, when they transition from the physical to the non-physical, when they pass away, they do a life review there as well. And they go through various different processes, and they may or may not reincarnate, and they may remain in that state for a while. When I have communicated with people on the other side, it seems to vary a fair bit in terms of whether somebody reincarnates right away into another person, or whether they spend time up there on the astral, continuing to review or continuing to do maybe even other things as a totally different type of being, or remaining there because it can be a very healing place for people, especially if they've had a lot of trauma or if they found that the human life was very tough, which, you know, like for us, it has been. So I totally understand that. But what's your view? I know another viewer had a question on the afterlife. What was their particular question about that?
Yeah, they're like, what kind of experiences can you have in the afterlife? Where can you go? What kind of beings can you be? So from my understanding of the afterlife, for my own past lives, I've been light beings where I've just had pure energetic frequencies, you know, not a human body, without a body, just a light being, like a Q in Star Trek, for example. I could manifest a human body. I could change timelines, or I could just be pure energy and exist in the universe. I've had that kind of a lifetime in the afterlife where I chose not to have a human incarnate body and not to incarnate in any physical planets, but to travel the universe as a light body, as a pure light being, like a Q being, for example. I've had many physical lifetimes in the higher dimensional planets, like a diplomat, a star traveler, exploring different planets, cultures, learning so much about different beings that exist in many universes and dimensions and alternate realities. That's one of my lifetime. I've been many galactic beings living on physical planets or traveling in arc ships. So really, when you go into the afterlife, you can select anything that you want to be or anywhere that you want to be. I've seen in people's sessions where their loved ones are in angelic realms in the afterlife, and they're living out their life without being physically incarnated. They still have a body energetically, and they're in a forest, they have gardens, they have plants, they're growing food, they're growing beautiful flowers. They're doing something that they didn't get to really fully experience when they were alive. In the 4D, 5D and up, some people, when they pass on, they become angelics. And then in the seventh dimension, the seventh realm and up, so there's so many opportunities. And I just say to people when they ask me, what should I do in my afterlife? Just plan to not have any regrets. Understand your experiences before you pass. Do everything you want to do in your life with integrity, respect, grace, and honor. Don't accumulate that karma that you don't want to take in the afterlife with you, because karma can affect the afterlife in your incarnation cycles if you choose to physically incarnate somewhere. There's also the light traps where the false portal of white light can be created by false trickster beings that are not positive. That could be entities, extraterrestrials. So just be careful when you pass on that, oh, my relative is telling me to go into the white light. Check in within yourself that it's the real white light, and that's not an imposter of your relative who's also passed on, inviting you to some soul trap to reincarnate somewhere where you don't want to physically, on a planet or a dimension. So there's so many variables in the afterlife. And the afterlife, just like in the human world, it's not all perfect. It's not just sunshine and roses and bliss. It has its own connections and its own energetics and vibrations. So it's not a free pass out of a life. When you go into the afterlife, it's a chance for you to have a look around, to chart your own course and decide what you want to do next.
Now, you know, I can't claim to be a expert on the afterlife because I'm still here. I haven't been there yet. But, you know, like I say, I have communicated with some who are over there. So I've gotten some understandings from that. And also, I do believe in the Hermetic laws and the law of correspondence, which is sort of what most people understand as the law of attraction, or what we're manifesting. So I do believe that, you know, how we're thinking about things really affects our reality. And I think that the afterlife is no different. So what I would recommend to people, if they have any fear of death or the afterlife, is to do, you know, what some Buddhists do, which is death meditation, where you visualize your journey into the afterlife and you visualize what you would like to see. So, you know, we do visualizations to manifest things that we want in this lifetime, or we do rituals, we do practices to help bring in positive energy into our lifetimes, into this reality. So it stands to reason that we can do manifestations and we can do visualizations about the next levels of our existence as well. So if we wish to see ourselves having a positive transition from the physical to the non-physical, then visualizing a positive transition is good. Visualizing having health in this life, living a long life, if that's what we desire, is always a good thing, because we're going to align with that. Visualizing that, you know, the afterlife is a safe place and that we'll go to a safe place will definitely, I believe, help us to go into a safe place. So we don't want people to be fearful of the afterlife by saying that there are traps, but I mean, how you're thinking about it is really key here. So being aware that, you know, reality has different aspects and different types of people in terms of the reality we're experiencing as being alive, there's going to be different aspects on the other side as well that we want to be aware of. But also feeling empowered is important here, because we are manifestors. We manifest our reality. So what we how we choose to perceive the afterlife will greatly impact how the afterlife experience is for us. I do believe that, because these laws of manifestation do not just apply to the physical, they apply to all the realms that we're existing in. So it's not like just because we go up into the non-physical that we have no power anymore. We're still, I mean, what we are is we are a divine transcendent spirit. So we just because we don't have a physical body anymore at one point does not mean that we're different. We're still the same. It's just we're having the privilege and the opportunity to experience life through this physical vessel at this time. And then when we move on, we have an interesting experience of being ourselves without that, but we're still ourselves. So we still have, you know, I think we will still have thought. We will still have the ability to navigate, to make decisions, to move through in the way that we feel, you know. So I think that hopefully that helps to bring people some comfort as well. But you know, it's one of those things. It's a very mysterious topic, and it's one of those things that with research, some clarity can be found, but we're not meant to know everything here, and that's okay too. And it's good to remain humble, you know, because as soon as we think we know everything, we are in for a bad shocker that, hey, here's something else. So we've got to kind of keep humble and keep open and keep learning at all times. And the more knowledge we obtain, the more we realize there's the, you know, there's the unknown, and then there's the unknowable. And we're always moving towards those other levels of knowing, but there's always more to know.
Yeah, I've even I've had a guest on, her name is Sarah Nash. She's like, we even discussed how people die, in what forms and how they pass on, and that suicide is not a sin. You're not judged on the other side. You don't go to hell. You don't meet the devil. You're not judged. It's something to some people it happens, and there's no judgment in the afterlife if you, you know, if you did go before your time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with that. I just want to interject. I agree with that because I've talked to two, maybe three suicide victims. I've talked to them in the afterlife because, of course, it's a very difficult thing for the family members to deal with. And they want to know if their loved one is okay, even though they committed suicide. And the thing is, most of the time when people commit suicide, it's just a fleeting decision to end their life. Having said that, they've had a thought form around not wanting to be here, and not just basically just not wanting to be here, what they've repeated over and over. So they've kind of manifested, they've built up this manifestation of not being here. But the actual physical act, quite often, of ending their life is usually because they just were kind of feeling bad in the moment, and they just wanted a different experience in that moment, or they wanted to escape from the pain of that moment. And they didn't necessarily even know if it would work. You know, it's like, well, let's just try this and hopefully, you know, we'll see what happens. But usually right after they do it, they're like, uh-oh, shouldn't have done that. But then it's too late because they're already gone. So, but yeah, I have spoken to several people on the other side who have died from suicide. And in all cases, they shared with me the suffering that they had in their life and explained why they did it. And they had a lot of reasons for it, honestly. This life is not easy. It's not for everybody. And they're not everybody is meant to be here for a long time. I hate to say it, you know, I'm sorry to say it if that's hard for some people to hear, but I've had loved ones pass away young as well. And I've realized that it's some people are doing better on the other side, actually, and they're able to heal and they're able to have a different experience, which is what they truly wanted. And no, they're not in hell or anything like that. Yes, they have regrets, which you could say is like a hell. But again, that's just to do with karma and in the emotions of guilt and the regrets. So that's why we just want to avoid doing things, impulsive things like that. We want to avoid negative thought patterns that lead us to impulsive decisions that we later regret. And we want to focus on doing the things that we would, regret not doing if we were gone, into the next life, so. And that's something I would love to talk about in our next video. So unless there's anything else, is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
No, that's beautiful. So Chloe, can you tell us how we can reach you, your website, your email address?
Perfect. Yeah. So we'll put a link below It's Airlea, ReikiMassage.com, and ChloeUlis.com, which is my name. Sorry, ChloeUlis@gmail.com is my email. But the best way to really reach me is to just text me, honestly. I can just put my number there, or you can find that number on my website. That's how you can get the fastest response. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I can be reached at Messages from a Star Traveler, Mystic Arts and Healing. That's my main website. And my email is seekingthetruthInreality@gmail.com. That's the best way to reach me. Or sometimes people can text me as well. I actually prefer to be emailed, not to be reached by phone. That's just a personal preference. But I will leave all the contact details for Chloe and me below in the video description. As well, we will make that list of meditation videos to connect to the higher selves of yourself and others. So we'll leave that below when the video is published. So thank you so much, Chloe. It was beautiful again to have you back.
Thank you. I love these conversations with you. You know, we've been having these conversations, just the two of us, for years. So it's lovely to finally share it with everybody. And just to let you know, for the next video, we're going to be talking about the soul purpose, and we're going to get a little bit more into some of the juicy topics of twin flames, soulmates, soul families, and so on. So anything else you want to discuss in the next video, or is that pretty much enough, you think?
Also life partners and the differences between all of these concepts.
Right, because a lot of people get confused. What's the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate? Can I have more than one twin flame or more than one soulmate? And what does it all mean? So these are things that I'm quite passionate about, that I've studied quite a bit. And I think it would be very interesting to share that with you. And here, if you have any particular questions, let us know on those topics, and we'll look at those in the next video.
Definitely. Bye, everybody.
Bye.